The spaceship effects were actually very clever. They built a cockpit in the living room, and I think they just masked. They kind of built a mask. A mask is a thing you do in After Effects where you cut out, well, whatever. They kind of used the cockpit and plugged it into the scene, and they did little spaceship effects. I'm not sure who did these. It wasn't me though. This goes back. I was talking about how there's a lot of references in this movie. In fact, it kind of, we are bouncing essentially back and forth. There are very few moments that aren't derivative of some scene or another. This is clearly from A New Hope, where, Obi-Wan has been killed. Spoilers! And, he's obviously, it's funny because his name is really Luke. um, I did like I always like the emotional, the complete lack of empathy in these characters sometimes. If you've been a second faster, you could have helped, but you didn't know. So yeah, people said like, God, you keep bouncing between scenes, and there's like you haven't written anything on your own, and yet here's where I kind of defend it is well, yeah, I'm totally defending it because in a way, in a big way, those movies pretty much define our lives. In fact, when some of us get together, it's hard to pick out something we even say in our everyday lives that aren't derivative of something else. We'll drop Dune quotes at the drop of a hat, at the slightest provocation or even the loosest association of, something happens in real life and it even loosely associates with what's Star Wars. Oh, we'll drop it. So he does a very good Palpatine impression, I will say. But yeah, it's we a lot of the stuff we do clearly is influenced by the nostalgic movies we grew up with because I think most of us are of the belief they just don't make them like that anymore. You know, action movie. It really is action movies for me because I think we were in kind of a golden age of action movies with Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Van Damme, to a degree Chuck Norris, who was kind of before that. Bronson, things like that. But when they essentially retired, nobody's really stepped up to fill that role. You know what I mean? I guess you could argue like Jason Statham and The Rock, but I really don't think The Rock has come nearly. He's never come close to his potential because he stars in shit like The Tooth Fairy. I think I think Statham is probably one of the biggest guys right now, and in fact, that's the whole point of the movies like The Expendables. It's really just bringing back those action stars from the 80s and 90s who used to be awesome and then have them doing awesome things again. You know what I mean? So like it really points out how nobody has filled those shoes, those actiony shoes. Bredigan. Anyway, tangent aside, we've watched so many of these fucking movies. We revel so much in the cheesiness of it all. Uh, we have so many quotable movies and that are so obscure only we know them. Sorry, pirates. Oliver. What the fuck? It's like we're we're completely off the map of sci-fi now. But like, that's us, and you can say that's a real character failing, but that's just. I mean, even my shit. Like, what's a paladin? Nowadays, everyone who's seen my videos, not everyone, but a lot of people who hear a stupid question kind of associate what's a paladin with stupidity. It's quotable. The your shit. Nuke the what is it? Nuke the Coke or whatever it is. Fry the Coke, I think it was. If you've seen it, you'll hit the gag, and so we always compare movies to the old shit we used to see. We always in our reviews we do that. We base plot lines on that. We reference the movies constantly in our reviews, because we always like to point out how much better they were, or how equally bad they are, or how in any way they compare, whatever. We do that with Doctor Who. We do that with Battlestar. We do that with everything. Um, so you could say easily that everything we say at some point is derivative, and so and I think part of the point of this movie is that we are spoofing not just one sci-fi movie, but we're spoofing all of them. We're in this weird headspace where we're doing them all. It's almost like let, let me try to compare it. And this is going to be a really egregious comparison, but Scary Movie. The whole point of Scary Movie is it kind of has a movie that is the through line. Like for Scary Movie, it's Scream, or it used to be Scream. The one or two used to be Scream. Um, and then you kind of hit gags left and right through the horror movie franchise. So it really never deviates from that theme. So I won't say it's a lack of originality. It's just the theme of the movie is the through line of this movie is basically the search for Spock and Return of the Jedi. That's whenever we're doing something, we're basically using that as the baseline. Doug acting dramatic, and I'm making fun, but he actually, that was another guy I was kind of surprised has chops to do more serious stuff. He always used to kind of do this Daffy Duck shit, where shit. No, his character is based almost a lot on Daffy Duck and Sam Kinison. Actually, he'd say it's more Daffy Duck. I say it's more Sam Kinison with the ow, ow, ow. That when he gets really pissed off and shrill, ow, ow. Uh, but yeah, it's interesting to see how some of these people can tone it down and actually kind of convey seriousness for a change. I have completely forgotten where I was coming from. Ah, yeah, references. I actually think I was pretty much done with that. I guess it helps to explain where we're coming from. But this is kind of it's what we do. This is us. We are essentially an amalgamation of sci-fi movies and action movies. This our psyches are kind of built as a gestalt of these movies, and this movie is a gestalt of us. So what do you want? I guess that's all I got to say about that. Gotta tell you though, if I were being completely cruel as an editor to this movie, I would have cut the entire love triangle sequence. Not that they don't do it well, and not that it's well written. It's not that it's not well written. Good scene though. It's it's really not relevant to the story at hand. It's just oh god. Um, it just doesn't add a whole lot in terms of the main plot. And if we were trying to get this into like a feature length movie, I'd have taken this out. I'd do this as an extended cut or something like that. A lot of people liked Lindsay in this role. People have been kind of harsh on her in past movies, but they said this was good because she plays an emotionless robot. I keyed, I keyed. Shit, you want to see a guy who makes references all the time? Have you seen the Cinema Snob? That dude, that dude's references are so goddamn obscure. He'll just throw them out. He won't explain them. He'll be like, just out of nowhere, he'll be like, let me. I'm trying to think of an example. Like, oh god, he'll be like, oh jeez, this in no way is actual comparison, but he'll be like, check this out. This is like the opening to fucking Krull, and I'm like, who remembers that? He'll be like, I haven't seen acting this bad since I saw the finale of Policewoman. And you're like, That was from the 70s, you weirdo. But it's all kind of knocking around in our heads. I can't explain it. That's what he does. And what's weird is I always used to say when it comes to obscure references, almost nobody's going to get it, but the right people will get it. That's how I sleep at night. This was hard acting, my friends. It was really hot in there with that many people. It amplifies dreams. This is, I keep saying this, but this is one of my favorite moments in the film. Of course, it involves Sad Panda. This also plays into the fact that Sad Panda is clearly not listening to anything that's going on in the scene. I'm probably early on this one, but yeah, they're like, Panda, what do you think? Should have been on Phalus, if we're where Jo is testing out equipment on Paw. Juno was overrated. I love that shit. I'm trying, but best screenwriter, really? And I do agree with him, by the way. Painkillers? But yeah, if I were doing the bit where Jo is testing out the highly dangerous equipment on Paw, the whole gimmick that Phalus keeps dying, I think it kind of would have made more sense maybe if it was Phalus getting his head kicked off and, kicked into deep space. I don't know. It's nitpicking, I admit, and it's funny when Paw does it, but yeah. I think it tied into the idea that that he's the one who gets involved with building the blue shell. This scene was, I know, it was originally pitched to be Inception, and it never really gets anywhere close to Inception. It really is The Matrix. Even with the hallway of doors is The Matrix Reloaded. I wish we could have gone a little further with this one, where I'm not sure if he'd written this originally, but I remember, I think I think I actually suggested this. I can't be 100% sure, but I remember saying that it'd be really funny if you saw how I see you guys, where I do really, really, really bad impressions, where I go, duh, I'm nostalgia critic, duh. This is it. This is the closest we get. Where Linkara is like a really, really bad impression of Linkara. So I was thinking like, duh, I'm Angry Joe, I review games, duh, that kind of just really hurtful impressions. That's kind of what I thought it would be. It would have been completely self-indulgent and exactly the kind of padding the movie didn't need. The best scene in the whole movie. I'm gonna shut up. Best scene ever. Oh yes. Yes. Frame this. Crazy eyes. Obviously, I had to explain this to people. This is Dune. Nobody was horrified by this in the room. They should have been like all vomiting and stuff like that, just because that would be funny. And I'm a hideous, awful chud. Chud movie reference. See, none of you guys have seen Chud. God, I got real problems. I remember that you want to hear about that scene, right? Yeah, I had that prop custom made by a very, very, very talented and a discreet individual. I don't know if he'd want me saying his name, so I will keep him nameless for now. Uh, but yeah, they I pushed hard for that scene. That was my self-indulgent Judge Dredd moment, although it didn't take nearly as long. But yeah, I was like, if you're going in my head, we need to see how not only how I see other people, but how I see myself. And that was the thing where I was like, I gotta see myself as like this scrawny but athletic god. This is a really well written scene, where it where we really have an appreciation and respect for movies like Manos. And that sounds so weird. Where we really kind of kneel down at the altar of Manos here, and you're like, "What? The movie is fucking terrible," and it is. But the part of the reason we get into this is that we really like shitty movies. They're so funny. They give us endless material to talk about and make fun of. It kind of brings us together. It's kind of part of the enjoyment of these movies is they're so fucking horrible that we love watching them. It's not masochism, or at least not to a full extent, but it's it's cheese, and we like cheese. Who doesn't like cheese? Could go for some cheese right now. Like, why do you think Brad? If it really hurt, if it really sucked that bad, Brad and I wouldn't do it. No, none of us would do it. But we like to bitch. So, I've always said the worst sin a movie could be is boring. And so if a movie's boring, I got nothing to make fun of. You can, but it helps when the movie sabotages itself or tries to do something and fails or is so hateful. You can easily call it out. But when nothing happens in a movie, Manos actually comes close to that, where not a lot happens for long stretches of time, but still enough stupid shit happens in that movie you can easily make fun of it. But yeah, this movie. This scene really helps explain, kind of in a nutshell, why we do this, and why actually movies like Manos have a place of honor or dishonor, so to speak, in what we do. Also, it's very well shot in the sense that this is one of the this is really one of the better I'm trying to think parodies of the Star Wars movies, where that's obviously a scene from Revenge of the Sith where Anakin is kind of getting seduced to the dark side. I thought that was really well written because it actually has a lot of relevance to the plot at large, and it is comparable. I don't know. I'm talking bullshit, but beware my throat of doom. My throat will consume all. I gotta say, I don't know where this came from, really. If this is supposed to be like a Star Child thing, or what. Or if he's trying to reinforce this is all in my head. I don't know. I did not do this Mati voice. Or at least, I don't believe it. I really don't think I did. I would have remembered. I'm pretty sure this is Doug or Rob. I did wonder if that would confuse people, if it was going to be more than one person doing the Mati voice. Not that I really care. I was like, I would have done it if they'd asked, just to be more consistent. Again, plot hole. I don't know. Last thing I say about the Harkonnen Speedo thing was I think they said they were going to close the set, like nobody else was going to get there, and I'm like, dude, I don't care. You think I got any shame left after all these years, after the ET thing and the Party Mania where I dress in drag? You think I really care if anyone sees me in a fucking thong? Actually, it's an athletic supporter, but whatever, man. So, yeah, I remember Jillian got a sneak peek. I can't remember who else was there because I wasn't really paying. I was focusing on my stretching and my acting performance. I was method in that scene. So I know quite a few people saw it. I know a few people ran screaming, but I know women everywhere were well, let's just say in their bunks after that little scene. You're welcome, ladies.